Hey everybody, Blane Odom, Next Chapter Realty Group. Today's session, we're going to be talking about the facts you need to know in selling a manufactured home here in Texas. My first little checklist of questions that we're going to kind of pose or review through these facts. These are great exploratory questions if you have a manufactured home or you've inherited a manufactured home and what the process is going to look like moving forward. There's a couple different avenues, and so let's dive in. Fact number one, most used manufactured homes are not considered real property. We have to explore what real property is. As a real estate agent, we sell real estate. If you have a manufactured home and you don't own the land underneath, it's considered personal property just like your vehicle is. So this particular home right here, they don't own the land, it's considered personal property. And so we're going to have a different sales strategy for this than we would if both the land, if the home was owned with the land as well. So got to take in consideration, is it real property, is it personal property? If it's personal property because you don't own the land, a real estate agent's not going to be able to list it on the MLS and go through a traditional home sale. Fact number two, a manufactured home can be sold without the land. That is true. So since this particular homeowner does not own this land here, they have personal property. And in Texas, the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs is the organization that manages all things manufactured homes. They can look up liens on manufactured homes. They can look up ownership information. They can look up serial numbers. And so as soon as you get some information on the manufactured home that you're selling or buying, then that's a great resource to go check out to get some more details on it. Fact number three, the title matters. Before selling, you need to determine who legally owns the home, whether there's any liens, or whether the home is classified as personal or real property. If you don't do those things, you'll get a contract, you'll get an offer, and then you begin the title process and it can delay or mess up the sale. So got to have those facts of, do you own the land, who owns the building, because these things can be separated. Fact number four, for anybody purchasing a manufactured home, especially if it's a used one, usually it's going to be a cash sale. If not, you're going to have to get with a special lender that handles manufactured home sales, and then they're going to want to do an evaluation of where the home is located, on whether it's property that's owned by the person selling the home or if the property is conveying with the home. And the financing piece, especially for used ones or ones that need help, a lot of times you're looking for a cash buyer for those types of properties. Land, when you have the land plus the home, then it's going to increase marketability. You're adding A plus B or 1 plus 1, and hopefully it's equaling 3 at that point. Certainly more marketable when there's land associated with the property. I fielded this particular one to a few of my investors, and as soon as they found out that the manufactured home didn't have any land associated with it, they were out, because what's going to happen is whoever buys this immediately is going to be owing rent to the landlord of the land, like the landowner. If if the rent is too high for them, or they choose to not proceed with this particular community where it's already hooked up, then they have an expense to remove the manufactured home and bring it to a different piece of property, and that can be $5 and $10 and $15,000 depending on how far you're going, and it could just be way more complicated and adds an expense for making the purchase. The last fact I'll give you is condition matters more than age. I've seen some manufactured homes where they're only 4 or 5 years old. They hadn't been maintained. They're falling apart. Maybe the roof's already got a leak in it, or the HVAC's tore up. You just like real property, like a traditional home, if you take care of it, it's going to be worth more. It's the same thing on these. So anybody coming to buy the home, they're going to want to, one, assess what's the situation with the lot, how much is that going to cost me on a monthly basis, what are the terms, is the rent going to increase year by year, or is it something where they can get a fixed 5-year lease, and so they can kind of project out and predict their expense for the home sitting here over that amount of period. But they're going to assess the lot, the rent, the roof, the HVAC, the foundation, the supporting, the footing. Like there's a lot of things to take into consideration. Maintain your property, you'll get more for it. Don't maintain your property, you'll get less for it. That's that. That's my quick 6 facts about manufactured homes. Again, some of the big recaps of all of that is if you own the land, it's obviously worth more and it kind of simplifies the transaction. You're going to get a bigger pool of buyers. And when it comes to resources, for when the manufactured home is considered personal property versus real property because you don't own the land, the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs is a great resource to go to. The last piece is if you're in the market to sell one of these, it's going to be hard to solicit a realtor to sell the property because realtor can't list manufactured homes when you don't own the land and they're considered personal property. You're going to have to find some alternative means. Those means might be just putting on Facebook Marketplace. A secondary mean would be going to a dealer who deals in manufactured homes. They might have clients on a waiting list for used manufactured homes because they can't afford a new manufactured home. So there's some different ways to go about it, but realtor's not always the number one answer. All right, that's my tidbits for selling a used manufactured home in Texas. Y'all have a great day.